He'd like us to get busy.
Yeah, it's already going to be 6 o'clock before I get out of here.
Yeah. Let's see, it's 5:07. Welcome to Daryl's Little Corner. We'll be with you every Monday from 7 to 8. Once again, in the studio with me is Virginia Jeter. And by now, you know who she is.
They're
Yes.
probably tired of me by now.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They're just proud to see you. I'm sure of it.
But we getting to the bottom of these parables.
That's all right. We'll start with something else. You know we will. Because you are very good at this. But we're discussing Jesus' parables. We're doing a series. We're going to do several, because we're going to go over near about all of them, aren't we?
I got as close to a full list as I could. This was the most complete one I could find. So I'm hoping we're covering all of them. If we miss any, somebody needs to let us know.
Yes, and we've thoroughly enjoyed this. Now we have, so we'll be definitely thinking of something else to do later. Where are we at now?
Okay, we have got down to what my list calls the shrewd manager, but now my Bible has it listed as the unjust steward. So it's in Luke chapter 16, verses 1 through 13.
Okay. Luke 16. Go ahead and read.
Okay,
I'll catch up.
And he said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. Then the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig. To beg I am ashamed. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take thy bill, and sit down quickly, and write 50. Then said he to another, and how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill, and write 80. And the Lord commanded the unjust steward, because he had done wisely, for the children of his world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. And I say unto you, make to yourself friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you unto everlasting habitations. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous manna, who will commit to your trust and true riches? And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon.
Absolutely. You can't straddle the fence.
That's basically what this whole parable is telling you.
You know, those people were kind of sharecroppers, weren't they?
Yeah. It's like in the old England days where the master of the castle had, and they were rulers over their lands, even though they weren't the king, but the lands that the king had given them, they were basically kings of that land.
Yeah.
and the people that lived on it were required to pay into them, and that's how they survived and they made their living by other people paying into them for living on their land. And that's basically how it was done in this parable. The master of the land had these debtors that were living on his land, and they owed him oil and wheat and to pay, I don't know if you would call it taxes or rent or whatever you want to call it. They were required to pay that in. Well, this unjust steward just went through there and cut everybody's bill in half. And he wanted to be friends with them, so when the master threw him out of his stewardship, these people would take care of him. So he was trying to serve the master and get him his portions, plus serve the people out there and make them his friends, so he would have a place to go if the master threw him out. And that's basically what it boils down to, the very last line in this parable. You cannot serve God and mammon.
That's right. You can't straddle the fence. You either got to be in or out. I think that goes back to, when I got saved, things was taught different. We just you don't hear that stuff anymore. We were taught that there's two kind of people in the world, lost and saved. Nobody's lost and lost-er. Nobody's saved and saved-er. They're just two kind of people, lost and saved. You got to be one or the other. You're not a little bit saved. You're not a little bit lost. You got to be in or out. And I think that's what it's telling us.
It's telling us that if we're going to serve God, then we've got to serve God. If we're going to serve the master, then he is the one that we're trying to please, not the world.
That's right.
If we're going to serve the world, then we can't please God.
If you go to these worldly places that Christians don't go, and you feel comfortable, you better check up. If you're around these people that don't live in a Christian manner, then, because now Christian means Christ-like. We're to try to be like Christ. You can't be Christ-like and be world-like too.
Yeah.
You got to be one or the other.
And now that's not saying that as Christians we won't fail at times.
No, we fall on our face like everybody else.
We are as susceptible to failing as anybody. Christians, like Daryl says, means Christ-like. We try to live our life the way Christ would want to live, us to live our life, as close to the way he lived his life as we can.
We want to bring back the bracelet. What would Jesus do?
That's a good quote.
Yes,
that,
we want that back.
Every time you think about something, you can't decide whether or not, this is the way I should go. That's the very thing you need to be thinking. What would Jesus do in this situation?
That's right.
How would he handle this situation? Because, there's a lot of times that I would love to pop my mouth off and run my mouth and just tell somebody off.
And sometimes people do it, they don't think, and they already did it, and then they're sorry of it.
But if you train yourself to think, how would Jesus handle this, before you get into that situation, you're popping your mouth off.
I
guarantee.
Before.
Before. But it's true. You can't serve God and serve the world.
No, you can't.
You can't. I've tried it.
You can't fit in
it's
with the world.
It's the most miserable feeling you will ever feel.
Right.
Because if you're trying to serve God and you're still trying to live in the world, everything you do when you're living in the world, you're going to feel bad about, because you're trying to serve God.
right.
If you're trying to serve God, everything you do to try to serve God, you're going to feel bad about because you're disappointing somebody out
That's
there in the
right.
world that
That's
you're
right.
trying not to.
You know, it used to hurt my feelings so bad when somebody kind of shied away from me, you know, like they didn't want anything to do with me. But I've learned, you know, when people are lost until they have a need. Now, I want to be, you got to want to be their friend, which I love people. Lord knows I love people, friends with all kind of people. But you either got to be in or out.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be the one that they have enough confidence in that if something's really wrong, that they can call me and say, Daryl, pray.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're, now friends is one thing, but if you do what they do and go where they go, which is what you have to do to really fit in,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to have that.
Mm-hmm.
You
They're
know,
not going to have that confidence to
yeah,
call
I mean,
you.
why would they ask you to pray? That's well, she don't do no better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, not that we're any better than other people.
No,
We just have that faith in Jesus, and because we have that faith and that love for Jesus, you know, I do everything I want to do. Do you?
mm-hmm.
If I want to do it, I do it because God changed my want tos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to want to do other stuff, but I don't want to do that stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I surely don't want the yuck that comes later after you do it.
Uh-huh.
I sure don't want that. I mean, He changes your want tos. He truly does. Makes a whole difference in your life.
And living a Christian life, like you said, Christians mean Christ-like.
It does.
We want to live our life like Jesus would live his life.
Mm-hmm.
Times are different now than they were in Jesus' times.
That's right.
But we can still love on earth that Jesus didn't love.
That's right.
We can love people
We do. We do.
and not agree with the way they're living their lives.
I love you dearly, but if you go into the juke joint, I'm not going with you. I'll pray for you while you go, but I'm not going with you because I don't want to be there.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to. If I wanted to go somewhere, well, I just wouldn't want to go there. You know, I would go, y'all, as wild as I get, so if the church has a singing, I go stay late and clap my hands. But I just say, God changed my want tos.
Mm-hmm.
That's as wild as I want to be.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. And, you know, He changes. You say, well, I have to give this up and give it. You ain't giving up nothing. Because you don't want that stuff no more.
That's where a lot of people, they will hold back from turning their lives over to the Lord
Yes.
because they think they need the stuff that they know.
All my friends are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the alcoholic thinks he's got to have that alcohol.
That's
Well, if
right.
you turn your life over to Jesus, you're not going to need that alcohol no more.
No. And, you know, if I've had people to say, oh, I don't want to go to hell, but my friends won't have anything to do with me. And
Then they're not friends.
I can't say they would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're not friends. They're not real, truly. If somebody is really your true friend, they're going to care about you no matter what you do.
Exactly.
Just like we care about people that don't live like us.
Mm-hmm.
They would care about you when you don't live like them. And if they're not your true friend, then what's the point?
Yeah.
And don't worry about it. God will give you friends.
Exactly.
He will. He'll give you a church family and people that care about you, and when everything goes wrong, they still care.
And
You know, when
give you
worldly-
people that you can depend on.
That's
There's
right.
so many times that you have friends out in the world, and whether Christian or not, they're out in the world, and they might say, oh, you can depend on me, but when you're in a bind and need them, they're nowhere to be found.
That's right. That's right.
But now, if you have a true Christian friend and they say, I will be there, there's going to have to be something very major
Mm-hmm.
for them not to be there. I mean, I may not be able to, you may be in a financial tie and I may not have the money to give you, but I know, I seen a shirt on one of those shopping apps I was looking at. It and the shirt had a big cross on it, and it said across it, he said, "I can't, but I know a man."
That's right.
So
I posted that on my Facebook page this week. Yeah,
but
I was so impressed with it.
yeah, and I thought, okay, I love that shirt.
I know that man.
Yes, yeah, the shirt says, "I can't, but I know a man."
That's right.
And that's like I'm saying, you may have a physical need that I may not be able to meet, whether it's financial, whether it's physical, whatever the need might be. I may not be able to do nothing about it, but I know a man that can.
Many years ago, things in my life were going lousy, and I was young. I had small children, and let me do this for Jerry. It wasn't Jerry. Before Jerry's time. And no, it was so bad at my house, and my pastor and his wife cared so much. She called me one day and she was crying and she said, "Sister Daryl, I don't know how to help you. I want to so much and I pray, but I don't know how to help you." I mean, she was so honest, and it touched my heart that she cared. I don't know that I would have made that call. I don't know if I've got the backbone to do it. To call somebody and just say, "I love you," and I just don't know what to do. I'd be over there praying, say, "All right, Lord, you can do it." I don't think I'd have called. Because how embarrassing that would be for a pastor's wife. But she called me and she said, "Sister, I just don't know how to help you." She said, "But I'm praying." And I've never forgotten that. It just touched me so much.
A lot of times as Christians,
it was Abby Baggett.
A lot of times as Christians, we're put in that position.
Yes.
Because I mean,
especially pastors' wives.
I'm talking from my own experience.
That the preacher and his wife can fix it. Only
because
Jesus can fix it.
Yeah, there's a lot of times you're put in that situation. You see a need, and there's nothing you can do physically about it. You don't have the money to give them. You don't have you're doing all you can do to feed your own.
That's
you can't
right.
feed more. It may be they need a vehicle, and all you've got the jalopy you're running around in. You can't supply them with. And we're put in that position a lot, but my strength in that position goes back. I guess that's why that shirt caught my attention. I may not be able to meet your needs physically, but I know a man that can.
That shirt it wasn't a shirt that I saw. It was just one of those posts. But I was so impressed with that. So I mean that grabbed me too.
And we as Christians, the Christians that are out there watching this, it's okay to not be able to, because it's made me feel bad. When I would see somebody that needs something and not be able to give it to them, whatever that need was, because I want to fix it, it's okay that I got to go to Jesus and say, "Lord, here's their need, and I know that you are the need filler. You the one that can take care of this. I can't." And I have actually been put in positions to where I would be running ragged trying to do something I should have turned over to God in the first place.
That's right. That's right.
It would have got taken care of a lot quicker and a lot better if I'd have just kept my hands out of it and let Him take care of it anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're put in that position to where you want to do something so bad, but there's nothing you can do, it's okay that Jesus is the first thing you think of to go,
That's
the
right.
first one you think of to go to and get that need met for somebody.
That's right.
I mean, we have no problems carrying our needs to him, or I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem carrying my needs to
some
him.
folks do. Some folks do, and they just feel better if they call and talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to have somebody they can trust that's not going to mouth it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody
Yeah.
you can talk to and know it'll stay between you and them and God. But sometimes people just feel uplifted, and you know, they kind of. Sometimes I think worldly people say you have to vent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just gotta let the steam off. And sometimes we do that to our pastors' wives. We do.
Well, you've got, as a Christian, not only just as a pastor's wife, but as a Christian, you've got to know when somebody brings their problems to you, they're bringing them to you because they want you to carry them to God,
That's right.
not carry them to your next door neighbor
That's
or
right.
you're the person down the road somewhere. They're not bringing them to you to share with. They're bringing them
That's
to
right.
you because they want you to help them
That's
carry
right.
them to God.
You know, that's what we do. We pray for people. I know Virginia does, and I do too. And it's real simple. If some folks, they feel better to talk, and then some folks, it's like, I wish somebody'd pray for me, but I can't. I just don't want to talk about it. I just don't want to. Or maybe they don't trust us to keep it quiet, or maybe they've been betrayed before. And I've said before, you just send me a text message and just say me, and I'll know. I'll just pray. And it won't be anybody's business that I did. And I'm sure Virginia would do that too now.
Exactly. I mean, you just.
I just gave you away. Look, I love you out. But call us. We'll pray. We'll pray. You want to talk? We'll talk. If you don't want to talk, we'll pray.
And that, I mean, like you said, a lot of people like to just talk it out, and some people don't want to talk it out.
That's
I mean,
right.
some people have problems that are so deep embedded in them, they don't want to put them in words.
And they don't want you to think that they're less or something.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, the devil will make you just feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not as bad as you think it is, but you think it is because the devil is just making you feel inferior. And you say, oh, I couldn't tell her that. I just couldn't. Well, if you don't want to tell us, it's okay. It's okay. Just send us a text message that says me.
The best thing.
We'll know, won't we?
The best thing is Jesus wants us to pray for each other and
That's
to
right.
lift each other up.
That's right.
But I don't have to know why I'm lifting you up
That's
to him.
right.
He already knows.
That's right.
Like Allison's saying, why bother lying to... Why bother lying? He already knows anyway.
Yes, he was a little kid. We were talking about the one thing you don't do. She said, lie to God, because what's the point? He knows everything. That's right.
See, we don't have to know to lift you up to God. We don't have to know why we're lifting you up. He
That's
knows
right.
why.
That's right.
He already knows, so we don't have to. And like Daryl said, if you want to vent to somebody, a Christian person is a person you should be able to vent
Somebody
to.
can trust.
That wouldn't run and tell you business
Yes.
all over.
Yes.
But if you don't have that confidence in anyone,
Or if you
a
just
true
don't want,
Christian will still
sometimes
lift you
people
up to
don't
God.
want to admit it to themselves. They just know they need prayer.
That's what I said.
They don't know what to ask for.
A lot of times the hurt or the pain or the situation may just be so deep they don't even want to put it into words. I know I've had things in my life that I didn't even want to put them into words to God.
That's right. That's right.
Because and that's when you get down and you pray and you let the Spirit do the praying for you, and you don't even know what's being said. You just
That's
know it's
right.
getting to God.
I know when my grandchildren died, it was just more than I could stand. And I didn't call anybody because I couldn't, not that I didn't trust them, because everybody, I mean, it was in the paper, everybody knew it. But I didn't call anybody because, well, I don't know, I don't think it was pride. I think it's that I couldn't get it out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't make myself to tell them that I couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I mean, looking back, I think, Dumbo, I didn't call somebody, but I didn't, and it wasn't in me to do it. And I would have loved to have somebody that I could just say, pray for me, but I thought, well, then they'll want to know what they're praying about. Then they want to know what happened. I couldn't make myself talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
After my daughter died, I called you.
Mm-hmm.
But had it not been for you, I'd been right back to the same place.
There's things that go so deep,
Yes.
and when you called and said pray, I didn't have to have you explain it to me.
That's
I
right.
knew.
That's right.
And that's in, I don't know, me and Daryl, I mean, we may lean on to each other too much, but I know that if I need somebody praying, that I can call Daryl and say, Daryl, pray, and she's either going to know exactly what I'm talking about praying for, or it ain't going to matter. She's still going to pray.
I know God.
Uh-huh.
If I don't know nothing, I know God. That's what you got to know, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. I mean, there's things that
Sometimes you just can't get it out of your mouth. That's why when my grandchildren and my daughter died, I just couldn't. It just wouldn't come out.
yeah, I know that the day that Rosie died, I was sitting at the house. It was between 5 and 6 because Jerry had just got up and getting ready to work for
when
work.
everybody's asleep. 4
Well,
o'clock in the morning when she got hit.
And
It might have been 4:30, 4 to 5 time I called you.
well,
See, I didn't think it was real. I thought it was a Facebook scam or somebody. I just couldn't believe my daughter.
I know Amber sent Jerry a text and said, Mama's gone, or Mama had died, or something like that. And it scared me to death because I didn't even think of Rosie. I mean, I knew Amber was staying with you, and so I thought, Daryl? And Jerry said, no, she said her mama. And automatically I picked up the phone and I said, where are you at? And you told me the hospital, and dummy me didn't even think. I had to call her back and say, what hospital are you at? Because I was hitting the bay. I was in the bay and fixing to go to the hospital and didn't even know what hospital to go to.
Well, at first I was so sure that it was not true. Now, as quick as Amber heard it, she just passed out. She passed out on the floor. And so, trying to get her together and get me together, and finally I called the police. Now I'm sure that they went out to Rosie's house, and of course my son-in-law was at work, and we couldn't find him. He started a new job, we couldn't find. Oh, it was a mess. And I thought, this is not real. Amber, if she come to herself, she said, I'm gonna go see. I'll go find out. I'll let you know, Grandma. I'll call you. And she went to the hospital and left me there by myself. And I thought, I was getting dressed, and I thought, no, this ain't real, no. But I called the police station. And the man said to me, well, they had not had any reports. The only thing they had was this little gray car, and he got to describing Rosie's car. And I started crying, and I said, that's my baby's car. And he said, I'm so sorry for your loss. And that's when I knew it was real.
I guess it was after Amber had got to the hospital, she texted
I think you beat me to the hospital. I think you got there before I did.
No, you were already in the back when I got
Oh,
there
okay.
because
Can't
I
remember.
walked in at the emergency room and I asked them where you were at, and they asked me, who I was because they wanted to just send anybody back there, and I told her I was
Uh-huh.
your sister-in-law, and she said she'd send somebody out to show me back where you were at, but it's, I mean, it's if you're living a Christian life, you just automatically know what to do.
That's right.
I knew that there wasn't any way I could help you whatsoever. There was
Some of that
nothing
stuff
physically I could do.
some of that stuff is just a blur.
Mhm.
Just a blur. And God's mercy and grace, He just takes care of me, and some of that is just a blur.
Well,
But it took a long time.
but
Took a long time to get where I could stand it, because every time I'd think about it, I'd just start bawling. I couldn't even talk to people about normal stuff.
well,
And if you get in that shape, then you just text me. Just text me. Do it to me or Virginia. Don't do it just anybody. They'll think you're crazy. But me and Virginia, you text one of us and just write me, and we'll know.
Oh, we'll know.
We'll know.
Yeah.
But that's a free offer, honey. We will pray. I promise you, we will pray for you. We will.
But this parable in all of this that we're discussing
Yes.
here is you can't serve God and mammon.
That's right.
If I hadn't been serving God, I wouldn't have known how bad you needed
That's right.
people right there with you.
That's right.
Even though there wasn't a physical thing I could do about it. There was nothing I could change any of the circumstances whatsoever. But I knew that you needed somebody
That's
right
right.
there with you that wasn't going to fall apart. And it's not like I could blame Amber if she did, or
And she did.
or Megan if she did, or
Yeah.
your daughter or your son if they did.
I did.
I'm
too.
not saying it was wrong,
Mhm.
but you needed somebody that could get a hold of God
That's
to
right.
get you through that it wasn't affecting them as much as it was
Uh-huh.
the immediate
That's
family.
right. You need somebody to lean on. You just do spiritually. Sometimes we're so, things in the world hit us so hard that spiritually we need somebody to lean on.
And
That's the power in group prayer.
that
It really is.
and that's exactly it. That's the power of not trying to serve God and serve
That's
the world.
right. That's right.
Because I mean, if if I'd have been out in the world, they call and tell me that, I thought, oh, I feel so sorry for Daryl.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, it's like I hate it, but,
I
it's
wouldn't
not the
have
same.
known that
Not the same.
even though I couldn't do anything, you still needed somebody there.
My husband died, and people quoted scriptures, and I'd stand there, and they'd hug me, and I'd think, yeah, that's what I always said. That's what I always told people. But this one person come up, and they hugged me, and whispered quietly, said, I care that you're hurting. I just care that you're hurting.
Hmm.
And, all that stuff that people memorize didn't help me any.
Hmm.
But that one person, some kind of way that helped.
Hmm.
And I used to, like I say, it was the same thing. I used same scriptures I used. And I thought, I'm not going to do that anymore. I just want that person to know I care. When you came to the hospital, I knew you cared. I knew immediately you cared. And at times, sometimes you just need to let people know you care about them.
Hmm.
Whether you say it or you do it, which you did, they just need you so much,
Hmm.
even when they don't realize they do.
Yeah. I know I've been in situations where, I would be, you've heard people say that they were at the end of their rope.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was at the end of my rope. I done tied a knot in it to hold
Yes.
on, and the knot was slipping.
Yes.
And that's when you need that person that's not straddling that fence between God and mammon.
That's right.
You need
Somebody
that
reach
person
God. Reach God.
that can get a hold of God for you and say, wasn't nothing I could do. Rosie was gone.
That's right.
There was nothing I could do. But I could reach God.
We want so much when our friends hurt. We want so much to fix it for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in us to fix. It's in Jesus to fix.
Yeah. I watched, you saying fixer reminded me, I watched a lot of programs, and there's people that call themselves fixers. They get in situations and they fix
They go
it.
fix it. MacGyver.
Yeah.
MacGyver.
Yeah.
Save the world with the paper clip.
You got PR people, like public relations. You've got big athletes or movie stars or something. They'll mess up and they'll call in a fixer to fix it and make it all look better.
Make it look and get by.
And, I want to be the fixer that goes to the guy that can actually fix it.
Yes, and that's Jesus.
And, not worry about how the world sees it. I want Jesus to fix it so it's fixed right.
That's right.
If it looks good to the world, so be it. But if it doesn't, so be that too. As long as Jesus does the fixing, it's right.
Mm-hmm.
And, when somebody loses a loved one like that, that's all you can do.
It is.
Is pray for God to comfort them as only He can.
Yeah. You can't fix it. Jesus has to fix it. And it took me a long time to get to where I could face the fact that my Rosie went to heaven first.
Yeah, because that's not the way it's supposed to happen.
No.
But the only comfort you can get that will help you is going to come from God.
That's right.
He's the only one. And even if you're living out in a world of sin, if you're living in this world and you lose someone that you love and you care about, there is nothing or no one in this world going to be able to give you the comfort you need other than God.
Somebody invited me to these meeting things, this bereavement, something they have at New Albany, and I didn't go. You say, why not? Well, I was bereavement coordinator for Legacy Hospice for nearly 5 years, and they made us memorize all that stuff and pass these tests, and you know what to do, but that don't mean you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell me just get over it, and this is this kind of grief, and this is that kind. Truth was, my daughter was gone, and what could you do about it? And and I felt sorry for me, because I wasn't gone.
We all do.
We do.
When we lose someone we love, or we lose something we love, or when something bad happens in our life.
We all do. We all fall apart.
Yeah.
I was real good at it. I was real good at it.
I don't imagine you were any better than anybody else.
Oh, yeah, I've had practice. But my Jesus, He's the glue that holds me together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to look for. That's what you have to have.
Yeah. People talk about people having pity parties.
Oh, I did that.
I've had a few of those pity parties, but they don't do nothing.
My dad used to tell me, my dad, in all his wisdom, he said, James was so sick, and things were so cruddy, and it was just bad, getting worse, and he was on dialysis, and it was a very difficult time in our lives. And he walked by me one day, and I thought I was doing real good for the situation. He looked at me and he said, now, honey, You can have a pity party all you want to, but don't expect anybody else to come.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He said that to his daughter. Now think about it. Just think about that.
But the only person you need to show up at your pity party is the man that can get rid of it, and that's
right.
Jesus.
That's right.
That I mean,
Absolutely.
that is the one thing that you can always depend on.
That's right.
No matter what the situation is, what shape you're in, Jesus is going to be right there beside
Yes,
you.
He
He never promised us that we wouldn't go through trials and tribulations. He just promised us that he would never leave us alone in them.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, he didn't stop them from throwing Daniel in the lion's den.
Well, you know, God didn't stop them from crucifying Jesus.
We were talking about that.
He could have. He could have said, "All right, Dad, send me a bunch of angels, get me out of here." I would.
Uh-huh.
I would. I'm sorry. It's a good thing Jesus is Lord, and I wasn't hanging on that cross, because I'd say, "All right, Dad, get 'em, kill 'em all, and let me down from here, Dad." I mean, I wish I could say that I had that kind of love. I love people. God knows I love people, but I wish I had that kind of Nah. Mm-mm. When they started beating on me, I'd say, "All right, Dad, get 'em."
That's enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we think we would sacrifice, but look what he did for us.
I know. We were talking about this on the way to church Sunday. Mm-hmm. We were we have kind of deep discussions on the way to church Sundays.
Oh, you ride with Jonathan?
Yeah, I ride with Jonathan.
Yeah.
But and I told Jonathan, I said, I can't remember what he had said, but I told him, I said, baby, as much as I would love to, there is no way that there is a person walking on this earth that I would give yours or Allison's or David's or Tommy's or Bobby's or Jay's. I mean, there's not a person walking I would give y'all's life for.
Mm-mm. If they're worried about, this, they're safe with me. Nope.
That
Look at
that
Abraham.
just shows how
Took Isaac up that hill.
See, it's a good thing I wasn't Abraham.
Me too. But I
love the Lord with all my heart, and I try to serve Him as best I can. But I would have failed that test.
And people say, "Oh, I do this." No, if that's your kid, you ain't doing it. No. Mm-mm.
He was 100 when he had it.
Yes.
It was a miracle that he had this child. There's no way I would have passed it.
I wouldn't have walked him up that hill. I'd say, "Well, son, we're going fishing today." Ain't no way. And when you read the Bible, people read the Bible like it was a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. This is something that happened.
It actually happened.
Some of the parables are examples. But when you read the Old Testament, that's actually more like a
history book.
History.
What
Virginia
actually
knows about
happened.
History. She loves history.
What actually happened.
Yes. And this man actually walked his son up that, and I know some of his Bible students probably say, "Now, lady, but that's your problem." I tell you what, do. You need a new Bible, because yours is a dud if it ain't real. Mine's real. When it says something, that's what it means. I had a Bible student one time on this program years ago that told me that the scriptures didn't mean exactly what they said. They do. Word for word for word, they mean every word of it. God wouldn't send you a lie.
I was reading an article that said that the book of Job was just a metaphor, that Job wasn't a real person, and it didn't take me long just to click right on off of that one, because Job existed. Job was a real person. This really happened to him.
That's right. You can't believe everything you see online.
No, you can't.
They'll tell you anything. But, when you read the Bible, we just read over it because we say, oh, well, I'm going to read a chapter today. It's, you're done. That ain't how you read the Bible. I used to do it too. Don't feel bad. I used to do it too. But you need to think about what you're reading. I mean, what does this mean to me? Read the verse before. Read the verse after. And if you have trouble reading, then they got audio Bibles that you can just listen to. But you know, that don't work for me because I ain't smart enough.
I'm not. I listen to them long enough to get the pronunciation of the
Yeah.
words I can't pronounce, and then I'm through with them.
My first husband was dyslexic and he couldn't read. So we listened to a lot of, back then it was cassette tapes. But as far as comprehending listening to it, it's not like when I
Actually
read
reading it, yeah.
I have to read the Bible. Audio don't work for me, but it does for a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people can do that and glean as much from it as I do reading it.
They do.
But I'm like you. When I go into reading the Bible, I'm reading it as a biography of what has happened. Like the Old Testament, that is a biography of what happened to real people at that time in history.
It's not a storybook.
Actually, you know, some people say that, oh, Abraham didn't really carry him up there.
Sad
and,
but true, they really did.
But they have proven that the hill that Abraham walked up to sacrifice Isaac on, and, you know, God supplied the ram so he didn't have to. But that is actually hundreds of years later, that was Golgotha where Jesus was crucified.
Yes.
That was the hill that Abraham carried Isaac up. It was like God foretelling what was going to have to happen. And Abraham was the father of the Israelite people. God is our Father. Abraham had to be willing to sacrifice his son. God was willing to sacrifice his son.
And the son was willing to go both times.
Yeah. Isaac didn't throw a fit.
Isaac wasn't a baby. He wasn't a baby. It's a big old guy.
Yeah. He said he didn't balk when his daddy said, we going up in the mountains today to give a sacrifice to God.
But he wasn't a baby. He knew what he was doing.
Well,
he was willing.
you know, the Bible says, you know, he asked Abraham, what are we sacrificing? Abraham told him, God will provide.
That's right. And he did.
So, you know, he had to have an inkling.
Yeah, he did.
You know, maybe it's me that Daddy's carrying up there to sacrifice.
Yes.
So, you know, and he didn't back down and say, oh, I think I'll just stay out of this hunting trip, Daddy. You go on your own.
Yeah, I believe I do, yeah.
He walked up that mountain right beside him.
He did.
Knowing that that's probably what was going to happen. You know, I've seen Bible shows that show that Isaac was, you know, just a little boy.
That's not true.
I think he was full grown when he done it.
I do. He was old enough he knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't a baby. You know, it's a lot of stuff we read into the Bible instead of reading the Bible and letting it tell us.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things. I think we kind of, you know, just like the baby in the little manger. I know everybody will hate me because it's coming up Christmas. I know everybody's going to hate me. But you look at these nativity scenes and the shepherds that came, and he's still in the feed trough. That's what a manger is, feed trough. And I mean, actually, in the Bible it says he was a young child. Why it took them forever to walk across there, and he'd done grown up. He was probably 3 or 4 years old, or 5.
I believe he was
I used to know. I think I forgot.
I think he was 2 when they went to Egypt.
2.
If I'm not mistaken. Now, I may be mistaken about that. But
He wasn't a baby.
no, he wasn't still a baby. He was,
Oh, it broke my heart. I was a young Christian. I bought this picture and put it on my wall. I was so proud of it because I didn't have beans, you know. Saved up, bought this picture, put it up there. And we were having prayer meetings back in those days. That's what we did. We had prayer meetings at the house. And this guy come in, and he came for prayer meeting, and he walked by and he saw that picture, and he said, "Sister Daryl, what you got that lie up there for?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "That picture, it's a lie." He said, when the wise men got there, that wasn't no baby, that was a big old kid. I was so mad. I'll tell you what, we looked it up. I didn't believe him. I mean, I was young. I didn't know. I'm like everybody else. I had read into it, you know. And our tradition is that it's a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just tradition, hon. That's not Bible. And I gave the picture away. I got rid of it. Every time I walked by it, he just ruined that for me. But we do. We read the Bible with our mind already made up to what it says, and then we don't get anything out of it. Read it, pray first, read it with an open mind, and read the verse before and the verse after. Know who, if it's saying this, who is saying it?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they talking to?
Why were they saying it?
Yes.
What's the circumstances around it? You know,
we just read and we don't think. We just read across it.
You know, I like to watch a lot of Christian movies, and I got hooked on The Chosen when it come out.
I'm not smart enough.
I absolutely love The Chosen. Can't wait for the next season to come out.
One day we are going to get together and we're going to start that, and I'm going to learn to watch that. I really want to. I can't figure out who was who.
It does get confusing. You got to watch it until you realize, and they tell you from the very beginning that, you know, they go by the Bible. I mean, I've not seen anything that didn't agree with our Bible. But they say that the stuff that is not in the Bible, they tell you, you know, this could have happened this way. You know, like, it's in the show, it makes Jesus so human. It brings him a lot of programs that you see Jesus on. He's real stiff and
don't seem real.
You know, you can tell that.
And he's too pretty. If he's walking in that desert all the time, he ain't that pretty, y'all.
Yeah.
He had skin just like we do. He's wrinkled and his skin's dry, and if he's out in the sun all the time, he's a little darker. And I mean, get real.
He gets dirty, and you know, it just shows the more human side of Jesus. And his, you know, it shows how his human emotions sometimes was at war with, you know, when the devil was tempting him, and you know, because devil can't tempt God.
That's right.
So he was attacking his human side. And it shows how he battled with that, even though Jesus is Jesus. When he was down here, he was all God and he was all human all at the same time.
That's right.
So when the Bible says that we can't be tempted by anything he hadn't already went through, that's the truth. He felt that temptation and that trial too. He's lost loved ones. He
wept when Lazarus died. When he got there in the front of the cave, he wept. He loved Lazarus.
And you know,
I think he wept for his sisters, though. their grief. And he loves us so much that Jesus is grieved when we're grieved. When
I've
I
heard
couldn't
that.
do it, he loved me enough that it grieved him. I just believe that.
I heard that
Can I
that
prove it?
Jesus
No.
wept. That Jesus wept verse. I've heard it taught two different ways. One way I've heard him, like you said, he wept because he was so sad that his sisters and everyone was going through the grief of losing Lazarus, and he wept because Lazarus, had died. And then I heard another example of it saying he wept because he knew he was fixing to bring him back and he was going to have to come back to the earth.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I never thought about that one.
So I've heard it taught both ways.
I think he had great compassion on his sisters.
And he felt for them.
So
he felt, when a person that you care about, and Jesus cared about, they were his friend. We've got to understand Jesus had.
I'm his friend too, and when I grieved, I believe he was grieved. I believe he was.
But he had, when he lived down here on this earth, he had kids he grew up with that they were best friends.
That's
from
right, and
little.
we don't think about that. But you're right.
And he loved those people because, think of your best friend, because Jesus and Lazarus were, they were best friends.
Close.
They were very close. Yeah. And I know my kids, their best friends have been to my house so much, they're just like part of the family too. So, when something's wrong with my best friend's family, it upsets me too.
Right.
And I believe he felt for them because of the pain and the suffering they were going through because they had lost him. And, his best friend had to go through that sickness, and he felt for their pain that they were feeling and had felt.
Right.
I can understand the way the guy that I was listening to his class, I understand him thinking, Jesus wept because, he was bringing him back.
Yeah, I never
back
thought
to
of
earth. I can get that because Jesus knew how hard it is to live here on earth.
It is.
But honestly, I'm like you. I believe he was actually weeping because he felt compassion and he felt sorrow and pain for the pain and sorrow that they were feeling.
Yeah, I think he wept for the sisters.
That's why I guess that's why that saying
Maybe I
hit
need
both
to
of
think
us.
he wept for me. Maybe I do.
I believe he wept for all of us. I believe
he
at one time or another, we have all been in situations that Jesus has wept for us because, like I said, the Bible tells us we'll go through trials and tribulations.
That's right.
But he promised he'd never leave us. So that.
And if you are in a situation like that, and it's just more than you can handle, close your eyes and imagine Jesus weeping.
Because he is right there beside
loves
you.
So much. Yes. He's not leaving you. He's going to hold you up. And there's a verse in the Bible that, I don't know, people use it a lot lately. It says that this shall come to pass. It'll come to pass. It's not come to stay. It's come to pass.
Yeah.
And Jesus will get you through it. I know he will, because he has me over and over and over. He has.
The Bible says, and when the storms come. So it doesn't say if they come, it says when they come, because they're coming.
They're coming.
Everybody goes through them.
That's right, they're coming. If everything just went smooth and hunky-dory all your life, then we'd be spoiled brats.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't appreciate what Jesus can do and what he's willing to do for us. And, it just, when, there was an old saying, I've been around church a lot of years, and when I first got saved, they used to say, flowers don't grow on the mountaintop, they only grow in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when everything's fine, you're spiritually what they call on the mountaintop. Everything's great. That's not when you're growing. It's when everything's cruddy. That's when you're growing. That's when your faith grows.
That's where you get your strength from. You know,
It
if you
is.
never had to be strong, then you would never.
That's right. Tony says we're out of time. He's bad at that, isn't he? I'll clear out what we'll do with him. This is Daryl in Virginia at Daryl's Little Corner. We'll tune us in again next Monday at 7 o'clock. Be sure and catch the Jeter family Saturday night at 7. We appreciate you watching. May God bless.